Hi, I'm Kier. This is Natural Me. I am the individual who your government officials keep stalking and in person and digitally because I would like to explain what they did. I am a millennial. So back in the 2000s, that's when they introduced the Windows 95 computer system. What they did was very inappropriate. They utilized chat rooms to lure young teenage girls. I was supposed to be a victim to kidnapping. However, I escaped my own kidnapping. What I'm saying today, I just want everybody to know why it's important to teach your kids balance between their digital devices or their computer devices. My mind and me in person, I operate as a computer system, meaning when I keep files, I have folders with tabs on it. I also have great memory stored. And what has occurred? Your president has gained astigmatism, constantly watching me, mimicking me, and doing everything that I do. And how he's gaining autism is through communications. Someone has been calling him from nearby, reporting everything that me and my partner does. Somebody also has been calling in. So what I'm going to say to you is the Navy and the Army of old retired veterans are behind the operation of the computer system. They first brought WWW to the state that I reside in. They've been controlling things by being digital visual learners. So our older generation, they're digital visual learners. They're not in-person learners at all because they did not want to go to school. They did not want to put in the work to acquire the knowledge that they're obtaining, especially about me. I know how to deal with your kids with autism. The reason why I know how to deal with your kids with autism is because we have to get to the point where we have to start weaning the kids off of their devices. If you don't give them balance in between the devices and they're constantly on there all day, that creates an aggression. That's why our kids are backlashing us. That's why our kids are being difficult in our eyesight. So in order to fix the issue, it really should have started at birth. When my daughter was born, what I did is keep it basic. DVDs, stuff that was for the kid's mind, to put the kid in an imagination and to keep her thoughts at a kid's rate. What's happening and what I'm witnessing is a lot of younger kids are looking on YouTube for validation on behaviors, which is how the kids pick up personality disorders. So you see now that the population of kids are all, oh yeah, Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson, yes, music's great. But why hasn't nobody explained to the kids that Michael Jackson is no longer with us? Why has nobody explained the history behind Michael Jackson to them? All we know is dad was being rude and wouldn't let him be creative and be himself. So dad suppressed those thoughts from Michael by being aggressive because he didn't like the way that he was acting. So with our kids, they're like sponges. Our kids absorb everything that we say and do. And that's why I'm saying my kid's an in-person kid, meaning I'm home now so she can monitor and see my behavior, which causes her to have a better picture of how her behavior should be displayed. When I'm saying what they're doing on some of these apps, if you had Apple, there is stalkers that I discovered when I logged on to my Facebook app from my Android device. And that's how I found out who Nathan Walker was. Then from Nathan Walker, I started going down the rabbit holes about this individual. He was formerly local, and he also was talking to different women behind the scenes. And one of the women said that she knew another kid was being sexually assaulted, and she never reported that to the Department of Social Services. We have a problem with communication. That's what we have a problem with. We're going to have to learn how to talk in person and not utilize digital devices as much. You're going to have to learn how to come into contact with someone and listen to what they have to say. So, since I am your specialist with autism, there are definitely two types of autism. You have verbal and nonverbal. Those are the two types. The ones with severe autism will not be as verbal at all. But if you are teaching them in person how to communicate, they will be able to speak. If you can't, because it's severely in an autistic state, like it's severe, then that's where the tablets will come into play to teach them how to communicate. But for kids that are verbal, they should not be utilizing communication with tablets and electronics to communicate with others, because I am witnessing kids 7, 8, 9 talking as if they were adults and having adult conversations. That is scary. Either the kids are listening in on our adult conversations, or the kids are looking at other people talk as adults. What I'm saying to you is your older generation is digital visual learners. They're not in-person learners at all. Half of the knowledge that they obtained and required was all off the current generation speaking it. The problem is the psychologies were different. They are taught to believe one way, while we were taught to believe a different way. And see, I went to college, and I am a sociologist, which means I study my environment. So I know these things to be true. Autism isn't just a diagnosis at all. It's a spectrum, for sure. But the problem is, you can't diagnose somebody with autism that you've never met. You cannot diagnose someone with disorders if you don't know what they are. Give me just a second. This manual has been out for years. And what I'm saying, some states were using this same manual to delay the learning of this, to delay the students' learning environment, to delay them from knowing what they should know and what they should not know. Everybody has a different teaching style. Nobody's on a uniform curriculum. This is what happens when the government messes with education, and they should not be messing with education. So my daughter, a few years ago, went to a school that started using iPads to do schoolwork. And I was like, no, because if we're so stuck on keeping those students using those computers and tablets, they are not going to be able to learn anything outside of just knowing what electronics is. Also, too, the effects with it impact the eyes as well, which causes astigmatism. Okay, so since I broke that down for you, this manual should have been discontinued since 2014. This manual originally came from out of the Department of Veterans Affairs into the population because they wanted to control drug and alcohol usage, because sometimes it does impact our children if we're users, if we're alcoholics, and nobody knew. When I asked who brought the psychology, I paid attention. It was the military who brought the psychology over to dummy down the population. I've worked with the Disabilities Board to be able to observe that environment, to discover what this was. It was their way of trafficking children through Windows 95 system. It's painful. It's painful. So I say this to say this. I'll be working on talking about how to deal with your children with autism. For right now, parents, I'm encouraging you to limit the screen time and limit the time that they're talking. Well, limit the time that they're talking on their phones, because that's where the bullying is coming to play. That's how some of them are learning to make friends. That's how some of them are off. Things have changed since everything is trying to go digital. I don't agree with that. Like, also too, with my name being attached to a lot of things that's been going on, I have not had time to work on a credit report. I had not had time to fix and clear things under my name, for the fact that I was always working non-stop, trying to provide for my own daughter. And when I mean that, she comes first. I was not receiving child support. So this operation is about child support because the military receives military pensions, and some of our fathers received Social Security. However, some states were not able to track that because it was in a different government system, and they were not releasing that information to the population. So it was hard. So whoever was tracking child support back in the day, I'm sure a government official was able to locate my father and my little sister's father, but they never said anything. They just let it be and just let them be in debt. So a lot of fathers are in debt with child support because certain states fail to locate them because the father could reside out of a different state, or they could be military and deployed out to where you'll never find them. So I say this to say this once again. I just want to be here to lecture you on how to deal with your autistic children. When they come into contact with me, they are fine. Their communication is great, but it's the fact that they give their own parents a hard time. So I am working on recording these videos so that way I can educate you. That's what the behavioral interventionalist position was about. Being able to teach your kids various forms of communications outside of their cell phones. We still read, we still write, we still mail, we still talk in person. Those are various forms outside of just digital devices, because it's going to become to a point where everybody's just going to be digital, and that's going to be scary. So I'm just here to unpack everything. I'm going to do a communications lesson. That's exactly what I'm going to do. These old military officials took some of our foster care cases and have been tracking us. And that's scary as well, too. Your president is a digital visual learner. He doesn't know how to communicate with people in person because nobody really likes him in person like that. So he targeted the most vulnerable population, which was the disability population. So I say this to say this. We'll be going over lessons, so be prepared.